Mercury retrograde is happening, and Mercury retrograde starts on the 9th of September 2022 and lasts until the 2nd of October 2022. So Mercury will go retrograde in the sign of Libra on the 9th of September 2022 and will stay there until the 23rd of September, where Mercury will move into Virgo. It'll enter Virgo and remain retrograde and go direct, leave its retrograde period on the 2nd of October 2022. So let's talk about Mercury. Now, Mercury in itself, it rules over communication, intellect, travel, technology, because technology is a way in which we get information. So everything information related, technology, and it also rules over travel, communication, and our thinking abilities, our learning abilities, our ability to focus, right? During the retrograde period, we can have delays when it comes to what we're trying to plan for, what we're trying to create. If it comes to a project, delays tend to happen during a Mercury retrograde. We can also start to have miscommunication, misunderstandings, as where a lot of conflict comes in. Also thinking and reminiscing of the past experiences. This is where you might pull out the photo album, take a trip down memory lane. When it's in the retrograde phase and not moving direct, we tend to look back. It's a time to review, to understand, to see what we've learned in the past, to reevaluate past experiences. People in our lives from the past might re-enter our lives, including exes, friends, family members. Past experiences come into our lives. Someone you haven't seen in ages now re-enters your life during a Mercury retrograde. Communication, right? This is where we get to think about what we experienced during that time. Do we want to reconcile maybe, or even let go, release, understand where we are, why we created the boundaries we did in the past. Mercury retrograde is a very healing time. We can feel very exhausted during a Mercury retrograde. Think of yourself as being offline. Mentally, you could have mental fog. It's harder to concentrate. It's hard to think things through clearly. So you can feel quite exhausted and tired during a Mercury retrograde phase. So it's important to take time, be gentle with yourself, be easy on yourself during a Mercury retrograde. The miscommunications and the misunderstandings can be very difficult. Truth comes to light, secrets are revealed during a Mercury retrograde. Things done in the past now have a time to basically be out in the open during a Mercury retrograde. And this happens so that the information that we lost now can be found, basically. That's why Mercury retrograde is very good for finding lost items. Any information that you were looking for previously and you couldn't find it, now you can find it during a Mercury retrograde. Stuff like that. Those are the positive aspects of it. But if there are any secrets, anything hidden that was done previously in the past, it tends to want to come to light during a Mercury retrograde. And it's generally just so you can reevaluate your stance on it, why it was a secret, why it was done in the past, whether it was you who took the action that was a secret or wasn't known to everyone, whether it was someone else, and how do you want to move forward with that? Do you want to forgive, or do you want to end a relationship because the secrets are just too deep? So that's what Mercury retrograde is there for. It's to give us the information, lost information. The delays can be frustrating, especially when booking an appointment. Make sure that you check the time, check the date, and if you have to get there, give yourself enough time because of traffic, any kinds of delays like that, as well as because it does involve travel. So traffic, so make sure you check the time, date, have enough time to get there, especially if you haven't been there before. Delays, in essence of if you're doing a project, you might now all of a sudden come up across challenges. But challenges are there to overcome so that you can basically make your project stronger, to see the points that are weak in order to grow from it. So remember that. Mercury retrograde is not a good time to start a new relationship. Definitely not a good time to start a new project. Like all of a sudden you want to invest all your money into this idea out of nowhere. Don't do it. Mercury retrograde is a great time to, maybe if you had a past skill or talent and you forgot about it, now you can get back into it. Mercury retrograde is great for completing things that basically you started prior to the Mercury retrograde. When signing contracts, read, reread, especially. I think you have that mental fog right now. So signing a contract can be quite a challenge because you might not read everything clearly and sign on something that you not necessarily might agree with, especially when Mercury goes direct, because all of a sudden you're thinking clearly and you're like, oh, I missed that, or I didn't understand that fully. So be very, very clear on what contracts you are negotiating, what emails you are sending out, and what exactly you are saying and communicating, because miscommunication happens. Things get taken the wrong way. So be very clear with that. And also be aware that secrets can come to light during a Mercury retrograde, as Mercury loves to find what is lost. That's why we could take those trips down memory lane, or all of a sudden we find ourselves at a childhood place that we used to visit. It takes us back, so maybe we can reconnect. So say you had a childhood trip somewhere out into nature, or a building, or you went to school at a certain place. You might all of a sudden go back there, right? And you'll be like thinking of yourself in that situation, in those past experiences, reconnecting with your younger self, reconnecting with yourself in the past, and seeing what you've learned and how did you go through experiences, what you need to let go of from those experiences, and what you want to move forward with. It doesn't always have to be bad where it takes us back into traumatic experiences, although it can do that. We have to see what we've learned, what boundaries that we set. And it can also sometimes take us down to happy memories where we can reminisce over good experiences too that we had. But Mercury retrograde is a healing time. It's a reflective time. It's a time to go back, to see experiences, to find what was lost, in order for us to find our inner self and a stronger version of ourselves going forward. So that's Mercury as a whole, as Mercury in itself rules those things: travel, communication, our thought process and what we are thinking, also technology. Now the technology difficulties: back up all your information, save passwords. This is when we can have a lot of things getting lost too during a Mercury retrograde. Losing that password, losing this account that you set up on social media, emails, all of those things. You might think you sent it, but you didn't send it. So check. That's one thing. This is where we can have electrical appliances also acting up, right? So remember that with the Mercury retrograde. Now Mercury is retrograding in the sign of Libra from the 9th of September until the 23rd of September, where Mercury will now enter into Virgo. So during a Mercury retrograde into Libra, we need to look at what Libra rules over: one-on-one partnerships. Okay, so this is where people from the past especially can come back, exes especially, but friends, family members, business partners, all types of past relationships can come back. There's also a time where we can have miscommunication and communication breakdowns in relationships. This is where maybe you with a partner and they want to take you back into reliving a past experience. It can also happen with family or friends, someone, and it can sometimes be a good thing, like, oh, I remember with a friend, like, oh, I remember when we had this good time over there, maybe we should go there again. But it can also be sometimes, I remember when you hurt me so, and that wasn't good for me, and it really made me feel those things. This is where we open up a lot more. Think of it when our mental processes and our analytical abilities are shut off for a bit. We start all of a sudden communicating in a way where we just say things. So that's what starts happening, where people want to relive or reminisce or take you back into past experiences, especially in your relationships during Mercury retrograde. Miscommunication: you might think you sent someone a message and then they didn't respond to you. Right? People might not communicate as easily and effectively within one-on-one relationships, be it romantic, friendship, family, business, so forth. That's the effect of the Mercury retrograde. Another thing during this Mercury retrograde, especially the part that's in Libra, when it comes to spending money, do not go all out all of a sudden to change your look during a Mercury retrograde randomly. Don't go and like, I want to cut my hair super short all of a sudden, or I want to change my hair color, or I want to all of a sudden buy this new wardrobe and change my whole style. Libra is Venusian ruled, so basically the planet Venus, it rules over love, luxury, and beauty. So during Mercury retrograde, especially in Libra, it's where we second guess the changes we make to our physical appearance. But we'll make it during the retrograde, and then after the retrograde, we're like, oops, what did I do and what was I thinking during that phase? Right? We can have breakups during the Libra part of the Mercury retrograde. This is where you can find out something secretive about a partner or a friend. This is a time where maybe they say how they feel and it's not working for you, and it would be a time to let go during a Mercury retrograde, especially in Libra. So remember that it rules relationships, and it definitely rules our beautifying abilities. So don't go all out at that time in spending on your physical appearance. You can make those decisions there afterwards. Mercury retrograde is great for completing projects. So if you had an art project or a writing project that you started before, you can complete it, because Libra is an air sign, so writing, all of those things, you can complete projects. When signing contracts, especially in one-on-one relationships, business, renting a home, so forth, make sure that you read and reread before you sign anything, because Libra does rule contracts, especially one-on-one contracts. So make sure you read and reread before signing anything during a Mercury retrograde, so that you know and you're clear. If you don't if you can put it off, then put it off until Mercury is direct. But if not, and you got to, make sure you check everything out. Fine print, really think about it and, understand it. It would also be a time for confusion and indecisiveness. Libra is a sign that often likes to think things and rethink things, especially when making decisions. So a lot of confusion and delays can happen when you might discuss something with someone and you're waiting for them to make a decision, right? That's where it comes in. Mercury retrograde on the 23rd of September will move into the sign of Virgo, and Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So this part of the Mercury retrograde can feel like a double whammy, right? So all the Mercury retrograde things with the delays and all of those experiences now can be impacted doubly, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So during this phase of the Mercury retrograde, from the 23rd of September until 2nd of October, deep breath. Watch your anxiety. This is where you can find yourself feeling very anxious all of a sudden and overthinking things, critical especially. Past mistakes that you've made. People will be more critical on how you've done this in the past and how you possibly are doing it now, right? Very critical. This is where things will really slow down, and the mental confusion, right? Before would have just been indecisiveness, but now the mental confusion is very much so heavily in effect, because Mercury is an analytical sign and Virgo is an analytical energy in itself. So analyzing will be completely off, miscommunication, maybe even you might notice that people are more critical of you and bring up past experiences to criticize you during that area of the Mercury retrograde. Also health, old health experiences where maybe you weren't eating correctly, taking care of your physical health, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, can come to light during this era of the Mercury retrograde. So take time with yourself and be very gentle. Take it easy. The miscommunication there can be a bit more, especially in Virgo, analytical, critical of you. And in that essence can be very, very harsh. And it would be anyone. It won't just be personal relationships, maybe at work. And now maybe you made a past error where you were working previously and now it's brought to light in another instance. That's the thing of that part of the Mercury retrograde, especially in Virgo. And any health experiences where you weren't sleeping, eating, taking care of yourself previously, mentally, emotionally, and physically, spiritually, will come to light during this part of the Mercury retrograde for you to check in with your health and your routine. Virgo rules over our day-to-day routine. So things will be very slow in your day-to-day routine, and your ability to do your tasks, take care of the to-do list. You might be feeling overwhelmed, and the anxiety of it might be quite heavy. Best thing for Mercury retrograde is self-care. Take care of yourself emotionally. Be gentle with yourself. Time out, rest, recuperate, heal, right? Let go of past emotional, burdensome experiences. That's what it's for, taking care and slowing down. And that's the hard part. And that's what can be very frustrating, because you want to go, go, go. But the Mercury retrograde is saying no, no, no. And you need to stop. Even if you come across a challenge like, oh, I started this project months ago, but now I was almost at this point of completion and I can't meet that deadline. Stop. Gain some perspective. Get out into nature in the Virgo period. Walk about, ground yourself, put your feet on the grass, or, look at the sky. Take a moment, gain perspective. You are feeling mentally overwhelmed currently during the retrograde, so gain some perspective. And that means taking a break. We get the most perspective when we stop trying to fight, trying to get annoyed and frustrated. And really stop, take a break, breathe. And you never know what answers you might get. So that's your Mercury retrograde video. My link is down below for my website if you'd like to book a Mercury retrograde reading to see how it impacts you. How can you manage this Mercury retrograde especially, as well as a link for appreciation of these videos. Thank you so much for watching.